Hi, my name is Michael Coomer, and I'm here to present some of the findings of my study, which is a transcendental phenomenological study of the lived experiences of professional employees who experience loss of an immediate family member and return to work. The purpose of my study was to understand the lived experience of employees returning to work after losing an immediate family member to death. In the problem statement, the general problem that was come up with was that employees do not consistently receive adequate support from their respective organizations during times of grief and loss, even though these situations are unavoidable and expectable. Specifically, the problem is that grief and loss situations also result in a loss of engagement and corresponding productivity in the workplace for grieving workers. This came to the conclusion we had two research questions. The first research question was, what are the lived experiences of employees who return to work after losing an immediate family member? And then to take that a step further into engagement, research question 2 is, what are the lived experiences of employees on their feelings of engagement on the job after experiencing the loss? The research was designed to be a qualitative, transcendental phenomenological design. The study was designed to gain the understanding of the lived experiences of individuals who have experienced a specific phenomenon, in this case, losing an immediate family member and returning to work. The design is appropriate because the researcher chose to accept that participants interpret phenomena subjectively. To carry out the research, semi-structured interviews were created with open-ended questions. They were used to gather the data. There were 9 total participants in the study. All were female. Each participant worked in an office environment and then returned to work into the same role following his or her loss. All participants were located in the Western United States, including Colorado, Utah, Oregon, Missouri, Washington, and Texas. Participants did experience the loss of a variety of family members. 3 lost their father, 3 lost a spouse, 2 who lost their mother, and 1 lost a child. Getting into the findings of the research, there were 4 major themes that were found through the analysis of the data. First one was coping, found that people definitely cope in different ways depending on a variety of factors. Biggest one that was seen in this is the expectancy of loss. So participants who experienced unexpected loss most likely felt shock, denial, and anger up front. Participants who experienced expected loss kind of felt calm and some gratitude for having the time with the family members. These findings definitely align with prior research in the literature review, as there were studies that showed that a variety of factors contribute to how people grieve, including expectancy of loss. Second major theme that was found was engagement, and one of the biggest things that was noted was that all of the participants noticed a drop in engagement when they returned to work. There were differences in how that was experienced. Some felt that they were able to come back to work and be fully engaged and found they weren't. Others just immediately were not engaged when they came back. Participants also shared a shift in their priorities in life and work work wasn't as viewed as important as it was before the loss. And this shows kind of an alignment to the prior studies as well. There's not a lot on engagement dealing with grief and loss. However, they do show disengagement may occur when employees do not feel supported by their organization, and this ties into a lot of the findings we have in this study. Going further, the next category was support. All of the participants throughout recognize the importance of receiving support from their organization. This could be either via the programs and policies and benefits that they had, or through coworkers and supervisors being there for them. And this also aligns with some of the prior studies, as human support really stood out in this study. People really focused on how important having people there for them was. And human support absolutely shows as a critical aspect of how participants feel in returning to work. Last major finding theme was resources. All of the participants had organizational resources at their disposal, including paid time off and EAPs and benefits that could help them cope with the loss. There are prior studies that showed a trend that organizations are becoming more flexible with paid time off to allow for employees to take time as they need it. And another thing that was found in the prior studies is that the average number of days of bereavement leave for people is 3. All of the participants in the study, when that was brought to their attention, said that was not near enough time for losing an immediate family member and returning to work. This brings us to some implications for the practice in the organizational world. There are a few potential areas organizational improvement could happen based on handling grief and loss situations. Because so many factors contribute to how each individual handles grief and loss situations, creating a catch-all program and policy dealing with grief and loss is challenging. Flexibility really could be the key to success. Focusing on the human factor in times of grief and loss is vital. While programs and policies are absolutely necessary, offering that human interaction support really appears to be very crucial. Providing a flexible and supportive group of policies, procedures, human interaction, and resources to employees could also be the key in supporting them. Again, going to that flexibility is really stood out as a potential fit for improving practice. And offering support definitely beyond the 3 days of bereavement leave and access to the resources is very important for employees. To take it to the next steps, recommendations based on the findings of the study. There were some limitations that were in the study that were obvious that you could go take the study further as far as increasing the amount of participants, looking in different areas, looking in different organizations. But to focus on what the findings really showed as areas for recommended further research, there's a really big difference in this study in expected versus unexpected loss. And learning how to differently people can react in those situations could be very beneficial in an organizational setting. Leaders could benefit from learning how to approach employees based on the expectancy of loss that they have experienced. And the other piece is organizational support. These two are the really big things that stood out. Every participant really focused on how important the human interaction part of the support was so important to their grief and loss situation. It was very important to each one of them. Although each person may have had a different idea of what their ideal way was to receive that support, every participant absolutely shared how important the support was to them. So taking that into further research would be a great idea. And that's all the time I have. Thank you so much for your time. You can reach me at my email on the front page, and I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.